Now, if you've been having trouble sleeping over the last year, you are not alone. The pandemic has been wrecking our sleep with COVID-somnia. It's a very real thing and has been affecting adults and kids alike. So Alanna's here to help us all get a good night's sleep. Bless you, Alanna. Let's start by talking about stress and how disruptive it can be to our rest.
We know how important sleep is to our overall health and well-being. And as you said, this year our sleep has definitely taken a hit, and a big part of that is stress. So I think it's really important to find something that works for you to lower those stress levels. Because when we do lower those stress levels, we're able to quiet our mind, we're able to fall asleep a lot easier. So it could be something, and it might not even be at bedtime. It could be something like learning meditation, mindfulness, maybe having a bath at bedtime, but also incorporating some physical activities, some daily activities, something like simply going for a walk. You know, I can't stress the importance of getting out in the nature and getting out in fresh air, getting immersed in that natural light. What it does is it builds our drive for sleep, and that's really our goal from the moment we wake up in the morning, is building a really strong drive for sleep, so that then it's easier for us to wake up or to fall asleep at night. It also helps kind of reduce any of those anxiety spirals. I know that I'm guilty of those. When I feel one kind of creeping on, I'm able to walk it off when I get outside. So physical activity, super, super important. And then allow yourself time throughout the day to work through your feelings and work through your thoughts. Allow yourself time throughout the day to stress out, if I can say that. You know, I call it a personal pause, because what happens during the day is we're so distracted, we're so busy, we don't allow ourselves to write out that to-do list. It could be as simple as that, or just allow those stressful thoughts, those anxious thoughts to kind of flow in. Don't let them ruminate, but flow in and flow out, so that when we lie down in bed and the distractions are gone, those aren't the thoughts that are keeping us up at, say, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Ooh, I like that tip. For me, it's like I get the distressing thought and I put it away and I hide it under layers, and I think I'm going to deal with this later, but then later's 2 in the morning and nobody wants that. So set aside time in the day to do your stressing. I like that. A stress to-do list makes a lot of sense. Now, I need to talk about that 3 a.m. wake up. It seems like when the pattern starts, it starts to happen every night. What do we do about that?
Well, and there's a reason why that 3 a.m. waking is so common, or that's kind of the time that you see. So how it works is we have about 5 to 6 cycles of sleep per night as adults. And throughout those cycles, we transition through different stages of sleep. So light sleep to deep sleep to light sleep. In the first 4 to 4.5 hours of sleep, we're having longer periods of deeper sleep. And around that 3 a.m. mark, or that 3:30 mark, we tend to cycle into lighter stages of sleep. So as we cycle through these cycles, we tend to wake up, but we fall back asleep pretty easily. But around that 3 a.m. mark, we wake up more. So that's when we tend to look at the clock, and that's why that time sticks in our brain, right? So for the most part, if you can fall asleep relatively easily, it's okay. It doesn't mean you have a sleep issue or there's a concern, provided you fall asleep well.
Okay, so then what if you don't? What if you're up and your mind starts to race? Because that's what happens with me, and you can't shut it off. What do you suggest?
Well, that's when we would turn to some of the tools that we talked about. So maybe using things like meditation, mindful breathing. I'm a huge fan of breath work and mindful breathing to quiet the mind. If that doesn't work and you're still having difficulty falling asleep, especially at that time, you might have to reevaluate actually how much sleep you're getting, because it might be that you're getting enough sleep. So your body is naturally waking up at that time. We have to shift out our sleep and redistribute it. So push bedtime out a little bit later. Start going to bed when you actually feel tired and sleepy, and your body's showing you those sleepy cues, not just when it thinks that it should be going to bed or when you think you should be going to bed, so that we can shift out that 3 a.m. waking and then wake up at a more reasonable hour.
Okay, so that's a good tip. And, I haven't heard that a lot. Maybe we need to be going to bed a little bit later, but listen to your body's cues on that. Now, I am so strict about my bedtime. I need that good night's sleep. Like, I feel like everyone depends on it. My kids, my husband, my coworkers. So let's talk about when you can't fall asleep initially when you go to bed. What can you suggest for that?
This is a common question that I'm asked, and I'm actually going to throw it at you for a second, Tracy.
Okay.
If you wake up in the middle of the night or you have trouble sleeping, should you stay in bed or should you get out of bed? What do you think we should do?
See, I always thought stay in bed, because once I get up and start being active and go downstairs and scroll my phone, I'm thinking this is going to make me more awake. What do you think?
So this is actually a form of cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, and it's called CBTI. It's a type of therapy called stimulus control. We actually want to get out of bed if we're having trouble falling asleep. So basically what it means is that we want to always be working on strengthening the association between sleep and our bed. So if we're spending a lot of awake time in our bed, and listen, this pandemic has brought that, right? We're spending a lot more times in our bedrooms. Our bedrooms really should just be for sleep and sex, but we're now using it for our home offices. We're using it for our kids' playroom or our entertainment center. So we want to weaken those sleep busters and strengthen that association between sleep and your bed. So if you're having trouble falling asleep initially when you go to bed, or you're waking up in the middle of the night and you're tossing and you're turning and it's taking you longer than say 10 or 15 minutes to fall asleep, the best thing that you can do is actually get out of bed, leave your bedroom, do a quiet and calming activity. Don't check your phone. Don't turn on every light. You want to stay away from up close bright lights. If you want to watch TV, make sure it's a fair enough distance away. Wait about 15 or 30 minutes, again, until your body starts to feel tired again. Then you'll get in bed, you'll try to fall asleep again, and in doing so, and you might have to do that back and forth. It might be a bit of a yo-yo that night, it might be a few nights in a row, but when you're doing that, what you're doing is you're strengthening that association, so it's easier for you to fall asleep when you get into bed, and that will carry forward.
We're like toddlers all over again. So now I know, like, staring lasers into the back of my husband's head isn't going to help me get back to sleep. Very good advice, Alanna, as always.